Right, hello guys and welcome back. It is my great pleasure to inform you we are now a little under 5 weeks to go for the fabled June update. And of course, as most of you may know, the update is bringing with it Pantheon 2.0, the second iteration of the beloved raid boss gauntlet. And to prepare you for such an occasion, today I'm going to show you the highest DPS in the game for every single class, Warlocks, Titans and Hunters, in order to prepare you for the incoming mode. And while the June update will inevitably bring balance changes to, I hope, some of the options I'll be showing you here today, most of them will still remain powerful beyond this video's publish date. But also, if you're just getting back into the game now and are needing some guidance for the raids and dungeons you are currently running, please look no further. And if you enjoyed today's content, then your like and subscription would be very much appreciated. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so we're starting with the Hunters, and normally we don't do that because in previous seasons, Hunters haven't really had the best stuff when it comes to DPS. But if you ask me right now what the best DPS class in the game is, by far, the answer would be 1000% Hunter, because this class has not one, but two options that are insanely broken right now for DPS, so I thought we would get them out of the way first, and then we will move on to the other classes, which are not quite as broken. So, the first one is going to be Lucky Pants, and the reason it is Lucky Pants is because of this thing right here, the Uncivil Discourse special ammo hand cannon that was added in Renegades, with the god roll of Ionized Heatsink, Precision Instrument, you need this, and Accelerated Assault, which is the shiny variant. This thing is bonkers because it scales with Lucky Pants, despite being a special weapon, the same way that primary weapons do. It has no additional tweaking to it, so it is able to output some insane numbers, as you'll be seeing from some of the footage they'll be playing in the background, like with me soloing the Witness and being able to do a ton of damage to his health bar just on my own. This hand cannon is just a little bit broken, so if you pair it with Lucky Pants and you use it in the correct way, this thing is going to carry you to the top of the DPS charts. So, first things first, for the build, we are going to be on Prismatic Hunter for the most optimal setup. We're going to be using Golden Gun, and the reason we are on Prismatic and not Solar is because Prismatic has access to things like Facet of Courage, which can improve the damage of our Golden Gun even more, and we also have access to Self-Weaken and Self-Radiant procs and so on, which some other classes wouldn't necessarily give you Ascension as well, so you can do this on Solar Hunter if you want to, but I prefer Prismatic. And by the way, all of the dim links to these builds that we cover in today's video are going to be in the description, so don't worry if you miss something, they're all going to be down in the description box below. So then we are going to want Lucky Pants, obviously. Now, stats wise, because this is purely focused on weapons, we're not going to be using our super that much, except maybe at the beginning of a phase. You're going to want 200 weapons, which means you're going to want quite a lot of gunner pieces. I believe every single one of my armor pieces here is gunner. Yes, with the fragments that I've got going on and all of my mods set up right now, I have 200 weapons, which is going to increase the damage of my primary and special weapons by 15%, which includes Uncivil Discourse, and it also includes my heavy weapon, which is going to be the Heavy Sniper. That's going to improve its damage by 10%. So one thing you ought to know about Lucky Pants is that you can pre-stack it. Now what that means is obviously the way Lucky Pants works is each hit that you get is going to give you another stack of illegally modded holster, and then when the buff runs out, it's just going to get wiped. And if you have 7 or more stacks, it'll give you the out of luck debuff, as you can see on the left of the screen. However, you can use a separate hand cannon such as Crimson here to get the stacks quickly up to a high number, and then you can then switch to your Uncivil Discourse and take advantage of the higher stacks with more shots from that. So that's what Crimson is doing here. It is the best pre-stacker because of its 3 burst nature, and what you would do is you would start on a heavy weapon, for example, then swap to Crimson, do 2 bursts, and then you go to your Uncivil Discourse and you shoot exactly 14 bullets, and they all do an insane amount of damage, and it's more than if you simply just started with Uncivil Discourse because you are pre-stacking it with the Crimson beforehand. So I hope that made sense. That's why Crimson is the best for pre-stacking, because of its triple burst. You can use other hand cannons like Warden's Law or the one from the Pale Heart that I can't remember the name of, but Crimson is the best because it is a 3 burst. I believe it's the only 3 burst as well. And then once the out of luck timer begins, that's when you swap to the Heavy Sniper and you shoot 6 shots. So you want to be shooting 6 shots of the Heavy Sniper, and then once that's over, you go back to the Lucky Pants. So one more time, I'm just going to show you the rotation, including the Heavy Sniper. So we're going to go 2 bursts of Crimson here. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Then we can swap to our Heavy Sniper here, and we're going to do 6 shots. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we reload. Then our out of luck is gone. Then we can go back to this. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, then back to the heavy sniper, and then we just rinse repeat that over and over again. You can make the rotation a little more complicated, as you might be seeing from the solo witness clips. I pop my transcendence here and there to get a little bit more optimal with where I'm distributing my weakens, my radiance, my radiant dodges, things like that. That's more of a solo optimization. When you're in a team, you're going to have your radiant and your buffs covered by other players as well. You can pop your transcendence at the beginning of a phase if you wanted to. Another optimization, however, is if you wanted to, you could combo a Still Hunt and a Celestial Nighthawk into this, and that is actually what does happen at the beginning of the solo witness clip that you've been seeing. But to show you this in game, what I would do right before going into damage is I have a loadout here that has Still Hunt on it and Celestial Nighthawk, and I would have it charged beforehand. So all I would do is I would pop my Still Hunt here, I would probably fire it off, I would swap to my heavy sniper, then go into my Nighthawk, I would chuck like a smoke, and then is when I would go into my Lucky Pants loadout and continue the rotation as we were doing before. So you can front load your DPS with a Nighthawk and a Still Hunt Nighthawk if you wanted to, if you really wanted to. You don't have to, you can just stick with Lucky Pants the whole time if you're not really a huge fan of loadout swapping. But you know me, I love a little bit of loadout swapping, so I will just be doing that most of the time when playing Hunter. Then, you know, go into your heavy sniper after that, swap back to Lucky Pants, so on and so forth. This thing is probably going to get nerfed. I'm not going to lie to you. They're probably going to tune the scaling that Lucky Pants has specifically with Uncivil Discourse when it comes to Pantheon and things like that. But right now, it is still very good, and it's very suitable for a lot of the bosses in raids, especially Desert Perpetual, especially Korgos. So definitely, I would suggest learning this rotation, grinding this weapon while it's still very easy to do, and also getting yourself a decent heavy sniper as well. And by the way, when I refer to decent heavy sniper, I mean getting yourself aggregate charge, accelerated assault, and the rest doesn't matter at all. You could go reload speed, masterwork, flared magwell if you want it to be super optimal, but that doesn't really matter. Now, as for the second rotation that is very good on the Hunter, we have actually already made an entire video on this, but this is the Void Hunter crossbow setup with a good shout, with Envious Arsenal, an optional damage perk with a horde paired with the Mobius Quiver super. Now, if you didn't know, Mobius Quiver received a buff in Renegades where if you have the super active, you now have a bar on the left-hand side of your screen, which I will just show you right here. And if you deal damage while the bar is active, it increases the meter on the bar. And when the bar is higher, or when the meter is full, your super deals more damage. And also all of your bow weapons deal 227% increased damage, which is a huge amount. It is a little over triple, and this does apply to crossbows as well. So not only are we increasing our super damage, we are improving the hell out of our crossbow damage. And if you pair that with a crossbow, such as a good shout, that has Envious Arsenal, currently this is the only crossbow in the game that has Envious Arsenal, you can do a rotation where you can get basically all of your bolts out in the duration of a single with a horde, which is pretty insane. We're going to be pairing this with Fortune's Favor, where we're going to deal, I think, 15% increased damage whenever we have a Void Overshield. This exotic is very good, as I'm sure most of you hunters know by now. Gonna have triple Void Surge on there. Stats wise, again, it is going to be 200 weapons because the bulk of our damage is going to come from our weapons rather than our super. Our super is going to get a boost because of the meter, like I mentioned, but the weapons take priority here. So 200 weapon stats with a horde, very important. Just something with high handling to get the other part of Envious Arsenal procced, and then a Envious Arsenal crossbow. Bolt perks, by the way, you're going to want heavy bolts on here. This is the best. Get yourself ultralight rail as well if you can, because this gives you a huge handling boost. As you can see, gives me like 30 handling, so that's why you want ultralight rail. So getting into the rotation, I don't want you to look necessarily at the rotation, but actually just look at the DPS board instead and just see how high it goes, because it's pretty staggering. As far as the rotation is concerned, you're going to want to start with a Wither Horde into the super, and then just swap between your second weapon and your crossbow, and that's going to look a little something like this. I'm going to go Wither Horde, super, no, crossbow, swap, 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 Wither Horde, super, bang. That's around 83,000 damage with around 8,000 DPS or so in the space of like 10 seconds. So it is insane for burst damage if you are coming up against a boss encounter that is very short damage phase that requires a lot of damage in a very small amount of time. And as you can see, best part about this rotation is that it is renewable in the sense that you can go and pick up your bolts again and start the rotation over if the boss allows for it, if he's in, you know, close enough range for you to do so. The only problem is that once your super is out, you lose that 227% buff. So the actual actual power of the rotation does go down a fair amount when you don't have your super, but because you deal so much damage during it in the first place, it kind of evens out to still be quite good. As you can see, I'm able to do it once again. DPS is basically cut in half, however, still rather good. Basically have infinite total damage with this, and given how the most recent raids, the Desert Perpetual and the Epic variants, are a lot, or are centered a lot around total damage, this is a very suitable rotation for that place. Although, if you had to ask me if I had a preference, I would probably say I prefer the Lucky Pants rotation over the Void Hunter, but the Void Hunter is still very flashy, very cool, and is just very powerful at the same time. So if you wanted to learn it, it's very approachable. Like I said, we did do a full video on this around a month ago, so definitely go and check that out if you want to see a bit more in depth. But those are by far the two best DPS rotations for Hunter right now. So if you want to do top DPS, definitely copy those. Okay, so now we are moving on to the Titan. And before we go into the Titan rotations that I've prepared, I did just want to say that, you know, out of all of these rotations that I'm showing you, compared to the last video that I recommended doing double Rocket Pulse and Finality's Augur, that rotation is still very good. And in fact, I'll show it when it comes to the Warlock section. Finality Mint is just still very consistent and it does the job very well. So if that's something that you're using currently and are not sure whether it is still, you know, up to scratch, it very much is. And I will show you that in the Warlock section, but I just wanted to let you know that because I wanted to show some more unique damage rotations here, at least for the Titan, because these are very good, and in light of potential nerfs coming to Rocket Pulses and things like Uncivil Discourse, you're going to want to know these things because these are what's going to carry you when those things get adjusted. So let's start with the Titan. Number one, the rotation I want to show you here is using Wolfsbane. If you haven't already caught on, this weapon is very, very solid, especially if you have the Attrition Orbs refit on it. The super generation that you get from this is pretty nutty. It's like the pre-nerf Outbreak levels of super generation. And what we're going to be doing here today is pairing Wolfsbane with a Prismatic Titan with Thunder Crash, and our stats are going to be optimized for a split of weapons and super. So, but like I said, every single dim link for these builds is going to be in the description with mods and surges and things like that, so don't worry. We're going to be using Wolfsbane, and then for the damage loadout here, I'm going to be on Curus of the Falling Star to improve the damage of my Thunder Crash by around 60%, whatever it is. Got 150 super, which is going to be effectively 200 because I have triple super font on my helmet, and then we have 170 weapons as the complementing stat to improve the damage of my Wolfsbane, my specials, so on and so on. It's very easy to use. However, there is one tech with Wolfsbane that I'm pretty sure you may not know, and it will kind of make or break how you use it because it is effectively a way to preserve your Nano Assault meter when doing damage to get your meter charged faster for the next time. So with Nano Assault, obviously, if you are using Wolfsbane in a raid encounter, you are going to have to pre-charge it before you go into damage. So it does require around, you know, 6 to 8 kills, something like that. It's easy to get the nanites you need for Nano Assault with kills. It is less easy with direct damage versus bosses. As you can see here, I've killed around 6 or 7 enemies, and I've got my Nano Assault meter fully charged here. And once I am ready, I can take that into damage. So once we are ready to do damage, if we are on a Titan here, I'm first going to pop my Transcendence, put my nade here to proc Courage for my Thunder Crash, and then I'm going to activate my Wolfsbane. We're going to go heavy, and then you're going to want to spam light, light, heavy over and over again. Light, light, heavy, and then watch the Nano Assault meter here. I'm going to do one more combo, light, light, heavy, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly swap off, do like one fusion shot, and as you can see, when I swap back, I have about half of my Nano Assault meter still there, and that is because when you swap off Wolfsbane, when the Nano Assault meter is low, like, you know, anywhere between 0 and 2 seconds, it treats it as if you, like, accidentally swapped off or you didn't get the whole value out of your meter, so the game kind of compensates you by giving you some more nanites back to get to your next Nano Assault faster. Because I'll show you, if instead I just let the meter go all the way to 0 and continued slashing with Wolfsbane, it would just be, you know, I wouldn't be able to recover it. So again, look, I'll show you here. We're going to go heavy into light, light, heavy, and then go light, light, heavy, light, light, heavy. Then we're going to have room for one more combo. And I could try doing another, but as you can see here, now that Nano Assault is gone, I only have like a small smidge of the meter left. And then if I had swapped off instead, I would get half. So just make sure you're doing that every time. And then when it comes to the actual damage of Wolfsbane, the place where it excels is total damage, especially if you're doing this tech, because every time that you activate the Nano Assault special mode, it gives you ammo back. So I'll just show you what that looks like here. I will get my Nano Assault charged back up to full. Take a look at my ammo right now. I have around 20 shots. I have 19 ammo, so we will go special reload, and then I'm up to 33, which is a nice little increase. It gives me 14 ammo there, which is pretty good. So one more time, putting it all together, I'm going to go Transcendence into my Transcendent Nade, proc Courage, and I'm going to my Thunder Crash, going to activate Nano Assault, heavy, light, light, heavy, light, light, heavy, and we're going to just do this over and over again. So it's around 158,000 total damage with a constant, I would say, around 3k DPS if you add in something like a buff and a debuff. So it's going to be a bit more than that. But this is very solid. This is very good for some of the Desert Perpetual bosses, such as Korgos, such as the Wyvern, Iatros. Very good for that because of how it works, you know, not being able to access to crits and things like that. And it's going to be very good if they balance other options like rocket pulses in the future. So definitely be aware of Wolfsbane. Very solid weapon, especially if you use the tech. You must use the tech to make it as effective as it is, but just be aware of that. It's going to be pretty good going forward. Next up for the Titan, in a similar vein to Wolfsbane, I want to show you Whirling Ovation, which we did cover in the last time this video came out, because Whirling Ovation is still very solid burst exotic. You can think of it as a parasite that has basically infinite range and maybe a little longer charge time. But I wanted to show you Conspiracy Honed, because the last time we did this video, we did not have this weapon. And if you didn't know, Conspiracy Honed is a dynamic heat rapid fire frame sniper rifle, kind of like Supremacy or Praetor's Revenge type of frame. That's how fast it fires. But the thing is, because it's a heat weapon, and if you factor in the perks it has, it deals by default 50% more damage than any other rapid fire frame in the game, which is pretty crazy example of power creep. And there's only one of these dynamic heat snipers in the game right now, and it gets the double damage perk combo roll. We get Vorpal and bait and switch on this thing, and of course it also has access to ionized heatsink, and with it being a dynamic heat weapon, it has access to the dynamic heat limiter. And the way that I want you to think of this weapon is that it's effectively a burst DPS monster. So when they nerf rocket pulses, or whenever they adjust rocket pulses by a little bit, this thing might be just the best thing in the top slot for burst damage. Because let me show you. So normally we are able to shoot 1, 2, 3, 4 shots before overheating, right? But what if we did this instead? I'm going to shoot 1 shot, I'm going to vent the weapon, activate the limiter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13! We go from 4 to 13 simply because we activated the dynamic heat limiter. Now, I didn't even have bait and switch activated there. So all I would have to do next is activate bait and switch, which is very easy to do if I use a different sniper rifle and then Whirling Ovation. So for the maximum burstage, I'm going to start with a Thunder Crash again with a debuffed grenade. And I'm also going to go straight after that into a Whirling Ovation. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to go Transcendence, Grenade, Super. Then I'm going to go into my fully charged Whirling Ovation. There we go. Then I'm going to do 1 shot of this sniper, 1 shot here, vent, activate limiter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Then I'm going to go back into my rocket, which is fully charged once again. 1, 2, 3 shots here. Again, activate limiter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we can activate our rocket once again. And back into this sniper, and then we're going to dump the rest of this sniper because we're finished with our Conspiracy Hone right now. That is a solid 3k DPS when it comes to just that raw burst that you get from this sniper. Oh, it's so cool. I love this sniper, and I really want it to have a use somewhere because not only does it do good damage, it's the damage as a result of like a little skill check, which I love. That's a separate conversation. But anyway, so again, we're going to go Transcendence into a nade, into a super, into a fully charged rocket. I'm going to activate bait and switch with 1 shot here. 1 shot, vent, activate limiter. And we're going to do the entire mag here, which is all going to be under the influence of bait and switch. Our rocket is fully charged once again. Going to swap back to that. And then once we're here, rather than 1 shot, I'm going to do 3 shots of this sniper, because by the time that I swap back, bait and switch will have activated successfully once again. I'm going to be able to dump the rest of the magazine here. Now, if you look at the DPS, oh, it's just very good. It's just very good. You know, this may not be the most meta rotation at the moment, but it's super fun to do, and it is very future-proof, as in it might be very relevant in the future as well. By the way, this is not going to work on every boss. Obviously, this is a very like precision damage heavy rotation, so things like the Witness or Oryx, it's perfect for, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention because, well, the Witness is going to be playable once the June update comes out, because you're going to be farming farming all of your Salvation's Edge, tiered weapons, tiered armor. And I just wanted to show you this example on a Titan because of the bursty nature of the Conspiracy Hound. It pairs very nicely with running Cuirass. And by the way, in terms of surge split, I am running a single solar surge here and then 2 stasis surges. And one more time, the god roll for Conspiracy Hound is ionized heatsink, vorpal, and bait and switch. So those are the 2 rotations for the Titan that I wanted to show you. Again, like I said, every single dim link for these is going to be in the description for you to copy hassle-free. And now let's move on to the Warlock and wrap things up. Okay, so finishing up with the Warlock, like I mentioned at the beginning of the Titan section, I did just want to highlight that finality with rocket pulses is still very, very good. And we're going to be starting with a getaway artist turret that we're going to pop before damage, and then we are going to go into damage with finality's auger, and we're going to swap to sanguine alchemy, because sanguine alchemy is going to give us that 10% increased damage from all sources, including abilities and weapons. Yes, there is a slight cooldown on it, but that is going to get removed like 10 seconds after you go into damage, and you can pre-swap as well if you would like to. And it's just still like such an incredibly solid rotation, because rocket pulses are just that good, and finality's auger is just that good for generating super, dealing damage, not terribly complicated, doesn't require any setup. Even from the footage you're seeing, it is still able to kill Greg, which is just a pretty good sign. All on your own, you know, I have no external help, I have nobody placing a well for me or anything like that. So it's just me, my rocket pulses, and finality's auger versus the world, and it is still very, very good. So let me just show you what that would look like, just as a refresher. So this is a little extra, but what you could do is you could start by popping an Arc Soul. I'll place a Rift here. I would go into my Transcendence, then I would swap to my damage loadout, place out a turret, go like this, pop my super, I would paint, and activate bait and switch on my mint, and then here we go. As you can see, about 3,400 DPS, 3,500, and I am going to reactivate bait and switch on my mint, which is going to line up with the timer on my finality as well. So we're going to reproc bait on both, empty the entire magazine of my rocket pulse, then go to my Sai Eterna because my mint ran out. I've already got my super back, which is pretty nice. Got my Transcendence back as well, so I can reactivate debuff, put a new turret out, paint the target again. Won't be able to activate bait and switch this time, but who cares? I'm doing lots of damage. It's easy. I'm just holding mouse 1. You know, finality mint. Doesn't get easier than that. 125k total, about 3.5k DPS throughout. You know, that's without a well and such, without the most powerful debuff. So this rotation, still incredibly, incredibly solid. Very easy to do on a Warlock. You can do this on all classes, because all you need is just the weapons mainly and a decent super to pair with it. For Warlocks, this would be Needlestorm. For Titans, it would be T-Crash. And for Hunters, it would be Golden Gun with Celestial Nighthawk. But just wanted to show you guys, this whole rotation is still incredibly, incredibly solid. Okay, so for the last rotation of the day that I wanted to show you with the Warlock, and this isn't necessarily something that is specific to the Warlock, but again, I just wanted to bring this up because it is just a very solid option that I don't see many people taking advantage of, and that is simply just Heavy Sniper. Like, the Heavy Sniper, guys, this thing is pretty nuts, especially this season with Sniper's Meditation, the Sniper's Meditation artifact perk. All you would need to do really is just use this weapon on its own and you would still output competitive damage. This weapon has it all. It does so much damage per shot. It has one of the best damage perks in the game, that being Aggregate Charge, and it comes in a shiny variant too with Accelerated Assault to let it do even more damage. And then if you add in just a little bit of extra sauce, such as a damage super with a horde ticking in the background, maybe an area denial frame ticking as well if you're feeling a little spicy, and this thing is going to do so much for you. If you are in a fight that has a long-range boss, such as the Agrios encounter, the Hobgoblin from Desert Perpetual, this is perfect. Or even just the Korgos bosses from both the Desert Perpetual raids. Because first of all, if you didn't know this, the epic version of Korgos, his whole head is a crit. You don't have to hit any eyes or anything. And secondly, well, you can just hip fire this weapon in a lot of the times. You can see me hip firing it in the clips of the Solo Witness from earlier when I was covering it in the Hunter section, and you could even do it versus other close range bosses as well, such as Korgos. Now, the rotation that I'm going to show you here is again a combo of going from a getaway artist into a Sanguine Alchemy swap. Stats wise, you're going to be high weapons with the Sanguine Alchemy swap because your super doesn't do a whole lot, especially in the context of Warlock. Needlestorm doesn't take too much from the super stat, so I do have the super fonts on my helmet to help improve that, but I much prefer having 200 weapons on a Sanguine Alchemy setup. So what is that going to look like? Well, here I am just going to pop my Arc Soul, I'm going to pop my Rift down for my Hellion, we're going to go into our Transcendence, then I can activate my damage loadout, put a little debuff on, super, with a horde into the area denial. I'm going to do like 3 shots of the Heavy Sniper here, make sure I don't miss Carl's face because he's being staggered a lot. Melee nade, with a horde, area denial, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. The amount of particle effects is crazy. And Witherhoard again, area denial, and do 3 shots to the sniper. As you can see, again, it's like a 3k DPS situation, much like the finality that I was showing you earlier. And I have loads of ammo still. I can just keep going. This is a rotation that has a lot of total damage available to it. You can just keep repeating it over and over again. And honestly, the super gen, not too bad either. Not too bad. And the transcendence gen as well. Pretty good. So this is just the whole point of this. I wanted to show you guys multiple options with these weapons that aren't just the standard sort of cookie cutter finality mint. Despite that still being very good, I wanted to show you these alternative options that still do a lot of damage, and they're pretty easy to pull off as well. All I'm doing is shooting my heavy sniper, swapping between a couple weapons, which in this case is Witherhoard and an area denial. So very approachable, very easy to do, and you can get more ammo for this too if you have the kinetic synthesis mod. So heavy sniper, very powerful. If I had to guess, unlikely to catch a nerf. The things that I would think are going to catch a nerf are probably rocket pulses and uncivil discourses, scaling with lucky pants. So I think the heavy sniper is relatively safe. It might get a tiny adjustment to it, but it is being helped a fair bit by sniper's meditation, mind you, so it might stay the same. So when all of that happens, just keep this in mind. Heavy sniper, very powerful weapon. So that is going to do it for all of the damage rotations that I think are the best in the game right now for every single class. If you have any questions about any of these, definitely drop a comment down below so I can help answer them. If you have any queries or are confused about something, definitely let me know. There's probably a couple things that I might have skipped over in the video because, you know, I do these rotations all the time, so there might be a couple elements that I gloss over that you might be wondering about, so definitely leave a comment if you have any questions. And by the way, like I have been saying throughout the entire video, if you are wanting to copy all of these builds hassle-free, the dim links for them will be in the description, so you can do that very easily. Every single dim link, they're all down there. Just go and copy them. Just go and copy. They're all there. They're all there. But anyway, thank you very much for coming and watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewers.